Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Dr. Khurram Shehzad, for providing me this opportunity to speak to this international fourth World Islamic Economics and Finance virtual conference. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the honorable guests who are attending this conference from all over the world, and especially to the organizers, especially the team of Dr. Khurram Shehzad, who have been looking after this conference from the control room established at Minhaj University, Lahore. The team of Brother Hasnan Ali, who is representing and supervising this conference on behalf of ICRI Minhaj University, Lahore. The team of Dr. Salim from School of Islamic Economics, Banking and Finance. From the social media team, marketing team, registration team, and every single person who has contributed in this conference. For this successful conference, I would like to congratulate every single one among you. This great conference would have not been possible without all of you. And last but not least, I would also like to congratulate our worthy Vice Chancellor and Pro-Vice Chancellor for supervising this beautiful and a successful activity at Minhaj University, Lahore. Dear audience, human beings are superior to other creatures in this universe only by virtue of their knowledge and consciousness. Due to this, if we go through the history of the prophets, we see that at each point, the element of research, inquiry, awareness, consciousness, reflection, and meditation, knowledge and wisdom dominates. In Quran, three aspects of human mind are described clearly. The first state is of a mind that is reflecting and meditating. The second state is of a dubious mind, which is always looking from incompatibilities and contradictions in the creation of nature. And the third state is that of a humble mind, which sees no flaw, but it looks at the perfect system of nature and in return has nothing but praise for the Creator. Quran basically here invites us to analyze our past and present to improve our future in realizing the purpose of existence. This provides us an opportunity to explore the possibilities of putting into practice a framework that can help transform Islamic thought and systems to successfully pave the way for new ideas and determine modern directions. This kind of transaction and transition is essential for a transform and reform that aim to modernize traditional thinking as well as play its full role in the modern world. The Islamic world must equip itself with the most insightful thinking and fresh experience to boldly move towards Renaissance. The Islamic world in general lags far behind in the struggle for modern living, civilization, and culture, despite having a great cultural heritage of Islam. Same thing also applies on the field of Islamic economics, banking, and finance today as well. Every successful renaissance depends upon the education and thinking process. While considering the renaissance of Islamic economics, banking, and finance, we have to look at the Islamic finance education, present conditions in future. Dear audience, if we look at the current scenario of Islamic finance education, we will see that in last few years, the number of Islamic finance education providers have been considerably increased in different countries across the globe. In 2017, there were around 700 such educational institutions working in 76 countries. According to Islamic Financial Development Report of 2019, the number has reached to 968 across 90 countries of the world. The highest number of such Islamic finance education providers, according to the report, were recorded in Indonesia, which were 355, followed by UK 72, Malaysia 62, UAE 49, and Pakistan 41 respectively. Nonetheless, when we analyze the report in terms of number of institutions who are providing degree programs in Islamic finance education and also the number of research papers produced and published, we get some different figures. The top countries that provide number of degree programs in Islamic finance and education, according to report, were recorded as Indonesia 186, followed by Malaysia 39, UK 24, Pakistan 18, and UAE 12 respectively. In the field of research and publication, as I have mentioned, a total of 2,550 research papers, mainly in English language, were published from year 2016 to 2018. The countries that were produced highest number of research papers during this period were Malaysia 876, Indonesia 465, Pakistan 148, UK 127, and Saudi Arabia with 107. The countries that were mostly covered in these research papers were Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Bangladesh. Dear audience, the report also analyzed and revealed the fact that in some crucial subjects and areas, the number of research papers published was not remarkable. For example, the topic of Sharia governance, only 74 research papers were published between 2016 and 2018. The insufficient and poor quality of human resource is still considered as a major challenge for Islamic finance education providers, especially when 85% of educational institutions are towards professional development. Nonetheless, the number of Islamic finance education institutions, especially in proportion to Muslim population across the globe, is still very small to fulfill the demand of Islamic banking and finance industry. If we look at the challenges, so we see that IFDI data shows that in 2018, there were around 1,166 Sharia scholars only present around the world. If we look at the figure, in the population, which is around 24% of the total population share, so only Sharia scholars dealing with Islamic banking and finance were 1,166, while 868 scholars were repeated at various boards related to Islamic banking and finance in the world. This extreme shortage and uneven distribution of Sharia scholars urged the countries where it is considered that it was an undersupply of Sharia scholars for Islamic banking and finance. The shortage is mainly explained by the lack of well-established degrees that has both the aspects of Sharia law and Islamic finance. Generally, the Sharia scholars were taught about fiqh al-mu'amalat in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan mostly. However, these degrees lack the essence of Islamic finance and its applications. At present, most of the courses for Sharia scholars are simply diplomas such as certified Sharia advisor and Sharia auditors. And there are no detailed program or degrees which Sharia scholars can do to get enough knowledge of finance and technology to equip themselves to lead Islamic financial industry. In Malaysia, the university offers courses on Sharia, but with only application towards common law, while Indonesian universities only deal with Muamalat administration diplomas. The extreme shortage of Sharia scholars on graduate and postgraduate level creates a serious concern, as most of the scholars are in the age of 60s. A greater emphasis is required on an Islamic finance Sharia education to maintain the succession. Another challenge that Islamic finance education is facing today is a little effort being done to promote Islamic finance education beyond the cities. For example, little effort is done to educate the villagers and farmers about the salam contract, which is a beneficial for them during the production of crops. The collaboration and partnership between the Islamic finance industry and academia can help in taking down this issue in Pakistan and abroad. Governments can also play an active part through workshops, seminars, or educational programs. Similarly, another interesting challenge is the lack of women's participation in the industry, which is a great problem. Currently, the Islamic finance industry is facing today. According to 2016 Women in Islamic Finance and Islamic Economic Report, mostly the women between the age of 15 and 64 constitute 8% of the total seekers of Islamic finance, which means that the people who are learning Islamic banking and finance, only 8% out of them are women and rest are men. So we can see that a less number of half of the world population is interested in Islamic banking and finance. So there has to be something done to be done with these figures to change them. The courses that are being offered at graduate and undergraduate shows that Islamic finance courses are classifactory and only some types of Islamic finance courses are offered in otherwise mainstream economics. They do not even try to add Islamic content or reshape the conventional content where it is even appropriate. The teaching of Islamic finance education started in 1991, and they mainly did the discussion on the riba-free banking in their courses. Malaysia is the first country that offered a course on Islamic banking and Islamic financial system at undergraduate level. As discussed above, the Islamic finance education is mainly made by those who are expert in Sharia but not in finance. This results in the rise of many issues and it does not addresses the real issues of the industry. The lack of background knowledge and theory creates confusion among policymakers and practitioners, which can be seen through highly diversified product in Islamic finance industry. The product that is legal and allowed in one country is completely banned in other countries, such as banking tabarruk, which is running in Malaysia and a couple of other Arab countries, but they are completely banned in non-Arab countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh. The same scenario is with running musharka and diminishing musharka in the industry. The lack of standardization curriculum is also one of the issue that generates the same problem as mentioned previously. The curriculum that is studied in Malaysia and other Arab countries differ completely from non-Arab countries. This happens because the difference in fiqh. The Arab countries mostly follow the fiqh of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, while non-Arab followers, they mostly follow the fiqh of Imam Abu Hanifa. This difference in curriculum and practices rise difficult situations such as intra-bank trading. It also raises issues when any bank is going international and establishing their branches in other countries. Then due to this difference, they cannot perform and lot of confusion generated in the industry. The lack of standardization is not only causing time-consuming problems, but also affected the global acceptance of Islamic finance by creating confusion about what is Islamic and what is not. The current scenario of curriculum in different universities is disorganized as well. They are extremely different in quality. So the lack of standardization further increases the insufficiency in the industry. The prime cause of this problem is the lack of understanding of what is the chief purpose of education and training in different universities and institutions. Is it to teach people about halal and haram? Or is it to teach them about conventional banking that is being taught in various colleges around the world? Or to make them able to interact with existing contracts in a way to make them acceptable in Islamic jurisprudence? The education material that is taught in universities it also lacks the actual IFI needs. There is a clear incongruity between the curriculum instead of harmonization, and the syllabus is primarily characterized as repetition. Dear audience, the Sharia education and Islamic finance education lack technical and technology-based learning as well. That is another issue which the Islamic finance education is dealing at the moment. At present, Islamic finance industry involves three important inseparable domains of knowledge: Sharia, finance, and technology. Sharia is, however, considered as the main pivot that legitimizes the operational mechanism in Islamic finance industry. Sharia not only provides the basic principles and foundations to the industry to get established, but also guides and provides a framework for a future direction of this industry. Therefore, the basic principles of industry in this context are objective of Sharia, which are maqasidu Sharia, to realize human well-being and to repel harms and difficulties in people's life. In present era, the digital technology will find extensive technological transformation, especially in the area of finance and banking. These transformations have considerably changed the setup of certain important economic and financial sectors. For example, fintech that provides technological advanced ways to make financial processes more efficient by disrupting traditional methods. The value of digital Islamic economy, which was around $107.2 billion in 2014, is expected to reach $277 billion in 2020. However, these technological reforms are still at its initial phase. Muslims that represent a bigger portion, which is 24% of the world's total population, play a significant role and are evidently considered as a substantial part of global economy. Discussing the technological aspects of Islamic finance further, we find there are a couple of significant opportunities that are being availed by Islamic finance industry, but most of them are still in queue at different levels to develop and enhance the efficiency of Islamic finance industry. For example, fintech, blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality, IoT technologies, and etc. The financial technology, fintech, plays a transformational role in enabling Islamic finance more accessible to a wide range of onlookers. Dear audience, presently, we find a rapid growth in Islamic finance industry from a very specific niche market into a multi-billion-dollar global industry. And this is predicted that this will develop further and grow further to a trillions of dollar industry. However, at the same time, there are various challenges and issues that are linked with human capital development, technological shift in operational mechanism, and with the emergence of innovative product in finance and banking sector that need to be addressed in general. Keeping in view the current scenario that includes insufficiency of well-skilled and Sharia-knowing human capital in the industry, and also the extent of technological use in producing innovative and marketable, compatible Sharia-compliant product, it has become essential for the industry and concerned government to focus on establishing such Islamic finance institutions and research centers and frame such type of learning and research areas in those centers that could fulfill the present demand and can also face the challenges to come in future. Dear audience, the existing challenges and obstacles in providing quality and result-oriented Islamic finance education and to produce a competent Sharia scholars and well-skilled human capitals, as discussed above, direct us to frame and develop a comprehensive curriculum that can balance all of three significant domains of Sharia, finance, and technology in industry. A curriculum which bridge the gap of knowledge and expertise between the scholars that are trained in Sharia, conventional finance, and technology. It is a balanced curriculum that will help the scholars to link and apply Sharia principles in developing innovative and based technological-based Sharia compliant products for the industry that are market viable in modern context. The scholars who are highly equipped with modern technology and at the same time have sufficient knowledge in Sharia and finance can provide a better alternative to modern finance and banking. Such scholars can play a significant guiding and directing role in the industry to achieve the objective of Sharia to prevail justice and prosperity in the society. Keeping in view the imperative need of such type of curriculum in Islamic finance education industry, it is important to focus on triangular, this is very important, which I want to propose today, that they should focus on a triangular model that emphasizes and focuses on balancing the significant domain of Sharia, finance, and technology for curriculum. Now here, I would like to present a Minhaj's model of triangular education for Islamic finance. Minhaj University has taken initiative to teach Islamic Sharia law and finance together with fintech at the University of Minhaj University. For this purpose, sub-institution of Minhaj University, which is College of Sharia and Islamic Sciences, grants admission to the student in Shahada As-Sanawiyya, which is a primary level of Sharia law studies. After completing the 2 years of those Sharia law studies, which is called Shahada As-Sanawiyya, the student get him or herself enrolled at Minhaj University in BS Islamic Banking and Finance. While he or she is completing BS Islamic Banking and Finance, they continue studying their basic Sharia studies at the College of Sharia and Islamic Sciences. When they finish his BS Islamic Banking and Finance at Minhaj University, Lahore, at the same time, they finishes their Shahada Al-Aliyya, the medium level Sharia law degree at College of Sharia and Islamic Sciences. Then they get themselves enrolled at MS Islamic Banking and Finance at Minhaj University, Lahore, and at the same time, they start Shahada Al-Almiya, the final 2 years of their Sharia education at the College of Sharia and Islamic Sciences. And by the time they finish their final 7th year of Sharia and Islamic Sciences at the College of Sharia and Islamic Sciences, they finishes their MS at Minhaj University, Lahore as well in Islamic Banking and Finance. During all these years, they spent at Minhaj University, Lahore and College of Sharia and Islamic Sciences. All the students remain connected with a software house established at Minhaj University, Lahore, closely working on Islamic financial technology. So these students continuously stay connected with the software house along with their Sharia and Islamic banking and finance education. So that connection with the software house basically helps them to develop the understanding of application of technology in Islamic finance and for the development of fintech solution and products. So this way, basically Minhaj University Lahore has proposed and implemented a triangular model of Islamic finance education, which includes Sharia, conventional finance, as well as financial technology through the software. So the students graduating from Minhaj University Lahore in Islamic banking and finance, they have equal capacity and they are a complete package, I would say. They have a good understanding of Sharia. At the same time, they are well aware of Islam, conventional finance, and social finance and all financial tool and techniques. And they are also well aware of the technology and implication of technology and solutions understanding. And then at the same, so I believe this triangular model can work and has a potential to provide a great generation of Islamic finance scholars to the world. They could be equipped with all three dimensions which are needed today by Islamic financial industry. And at the same time, there is another center which is called International Center of Research in Islamic Economics, working at Minhaj University, Lahore, established in 2014, is also dedicatedly working for last 5-6 years on a completely new curriculum for Islamic finance education, which will include and incorporate all three dimensions much needed today by Islamic financial industry, which is Sharia, conventional finance, and fintech, financial technology. So I am very much hopeful as soon this curriculum will come out, this will benefit many institutions working and educating in the field of Islamic banking and finance. So in the end, I would like to propose that this triangular model, which I have just discussed at the end of my discussion, already implemented and adopted by Minhaj University, Lahore, has a great potential. And all over the world, if Islamic finance institutions can adopt this model and train their students accordingly in all three dimensions, I'm very much hopeful that the education institutions will be able to provide a great generation of Islamic finance scholars. Today, I selected this topic of Islamic finance education was importantly a very needed topic, I would say. For last many years, we have been discussing in various conferences various aspects of Islamic finance, the gaps and issues. So last year, I remember Brother Mughis Shaukat, he asked me to work on the Islamic finance education gaps and way forward. So after he made me focus on this area, so Alhamdulillah, I was able to complete a book on this subject, and I wanted to present this. This is a much needed and important subject today, which all the Islamic financial institutions, they need to work on it. And another important reason, there is a big hue and cry from the industry that whatever the produce we get from the institutions for the industry, they don't match the requirements of Islamic banking and finance industry. So when we will have this triangular model at the institutions where Islamic banking and finance is taught, I'm sure that that hue and cry by the industry will be over as well. And the institutions will be able to provide a good amount of great scholars. And another point which I have already mentioned earlier in my presentation, the great Sharia scholars, mostly they are in their 60s and 70s. So we have to hurry up and come up with a great new generation of Sharia scholars well equipped with finance and technology to deal and look after this industry further. At the end, I would again like to congratulate all the organizers of this great Fourth World Islamic Economics and Finance Conference for such a successful event organized. And Alhamdulillah, as we have heard from Dr. Khurram Shehzad yesterday and today, it has been attended properly by over 3,000 participants from various countries around the world. I believe more than 50 countries the participants belong from. And Alhamdulillah, it's a great participation. And I think this Fourth World Islamic Economics Finance and the series of this conference, it's a great success story. And it has a great impact on the industry. And every year we see a great intellectuals joining this forum, becoming part of it, and spreading their wisdom through this platform. And this is necessary that I also thank three great personalities who have been attached with us and part of us since the beginning of this journey, especially Professor Dr. Ishaq Bhatti, Dr. Mughis Shaukat, Professor Dr. Humayun Dar. These three brothers have always been instrumental, part and parcel of this great journey of this conference, and a great strengthening partners they all have been. And I would also like to thank all the sponsoring bodies and organizations who have been kind and generous to become a part of this forum. And I would also like to thank all our keynote speakers, great intellectuals and scholars, for sparing time out to speak through this platform to the seekers and the people who want to learn about Islamic banking and finance. And last but not least, again, I would like to congratulate all the members of organizing body and the people sitting at the control room, controlling and handling and supervising the Islamic Banking and Finance Conference. May Allah bless you with more strength and tawfiq to take this message and cause further, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.